Hey guys, welcome back to Man Medicine. Here we talk about the science of age management medicine, health optimization, and most importantly, how to avoid the collapsing U.S. healthcare system. I had a fascinating lecture set up for you guys today on lipoprotein A, cholesterol, lipids, all that really geeky stuff. But I changed my mind based on an experience I had at the gym today. I went into the gym today for my usual back workout, and I wasn't feeling it today at all. I actually almost skipped it, but it was a good reminder that when you feel that way, that's when you really need to push yourself. You need to go to the gym and you need to make yourself get that scheduled workout in. And I'm really glad I did. I had a fabulous workout, went up on all my lifts, and I felt kind of crappy going in, but I left feeling really, really good, really energized, had a good pump, and it set me up for the rest of the day. But while I was there were a group of young kids, young whippersnappers, and it's hard for me to guess. I'm not really good at guessing ages, so I'm going to estimate that these guys were early college age kids, 18 to 21, maybe 22. They were definitely older than high school age, but still look, to me anyway, as I get older, they look pretty young. And these guys they were pretty built, like good shape. You know, nobody massive. The biggest guy that I'm going to talk about in a second was, I don't know, he's probably like 6'2", 6'3". He looked like he weighed about 220, 225. But all of them had like pretty decent amount of muscle tissue, and were, they were in good shape. But this one particular guy went off over into the corner and was getting ready to do some bench presses with his buddies, and he had 225 on there, so two 45-pound plates on each side. And I saw the rest of his buddies like all gathered around, like this is going to be some kind of a spectacle. And one of them had his little cell phone out there, and he was recording this, and there was a lot of like pumping up and a lot of heavy breathing, and they weren't slapping each other, but he was clearly like getting pumped up for this lift. So I was like, all right, sweet, I'll check this out. Like this should be good. Like he's probably gonna he's going for reps on this, like they do at the NFL Combine, where they have to rep 225. And this kid looks like he could probably knock out 10 to 12, maybe more, maybe like 15 reps. He looked pretty strong. And he got on there, and his buddy lifted the weight up to him, and it went down. And the first one went up pretty decently. It wasn't good like powerlifting competition for him, but it was good. Second one, he barely got, was really struggling. And then the third one, he got about halfway up, and his buddy had to help him through like 3 more forced reps. So 2.5 reps with 225. And I was like, And afterwards they were kind of like fist bumping and high fiving, and I don't know, that video is probably going to go up on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever it is the kids use these days that I'm not familiar with. But what I'm going to say here, let me caveat this a little bit. In no way is this meant to put this kid down. In fact, if you're in the gym and you're working hard like they are and putting out the kind of effort that he did, I got nothing but props for you. I will high five you myself. But I thought back to what it was like when I was that age, training with my buddies at the gym in the very early 90s, and the kind of weights that we were moving. Now these guys, we probably, I don't know, I was roughly that kid's size. I obviously was shorter. I'm only 5'11", but I was about 225, ish, at age 18, age 19. But myself and my 2 other buddies they're much bigger than me. They were Division I college football players, but they were my main training partners. We were putting up 225 for like 18 to 22 reps, pretty easy back then. One of the things I've done over the years is kept records, and I still have records of most of my training days going back to age 18, and so I got some of those out, and I was hitting 225 for 12 reps as a senior in high school, and then was consistently getting over 20 reps within 2 years of that. I hit a PR of 315, which is 3 plates on the bench, fall of my senior year when I was 16, because I started school a little bit earlier because I was born overseas. And then 2 years later, my sophomore year in college is when the first time I went over 400 pounds on the bench press. And I remember back then that nobody was impressed. You know, people weren't stopping to look at us lift with those kind of weights. It just was, you know, sort of average. You know, maybe it was above average, I should say, but it certainly wasn't anything spectacular. We didn't have cell phones in those days. It certainly wasn't anything that I would have necessarily like bragged about or put up on the internet or anything like that, because there were plenty of guys at that gym in my college town that were putting up way bigger lifts than I was, and even that my other buddies were. And these guys, but the guys I lifted with were genetic freaks. So, I mean, it got me thinking, like, is there something going on here? Are men getting weaker as the generations go on? And I wondered if, you know, is there any scientific data looking at this? So I did a little bit of a literature search when I got home, and I was able to pull up one study that we'll talk about. So again, I want to just say as a caveat, I'm not bringing this up to toot my own horn or anything, or by no means to put these young guys down. Like I said, I have nothing but encouragement for them, and I'm sure as time goes on, they'll continue to go up and up and up. Hey, and for all I know, you know, he was just coming back from a shoulder surgery, or there may have been something else involved, but based on what he looked like, I really felt like I was waiting to see him put that 225 up multiple times, like, well, at least 10, 15, or higher in terms of number of repetitions, and what I saw was 2.5 reps. Okay, sorry. So anyway, I did a little bit of a literature search when I got home, and, you know, not surprisingly, there's not a ton out there. We do know there's a lot of studies looking at testosterone levels going down as the generations go on, and there's actually a lot of data on that. But in terms of actual, like, quantitative measurements of strength, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot. But I did find one study. Where is it here? This was in the Journal of Hand Therapy. Okay, now the Journal of Hand Therapy is not one that I read very often, but it's likely popular in the physical therapy world and maybe hand surgeons and things like that. This is from 2016. If you want to look this up, you can go to ScienceDirect.com. It's actually a really good site for looking up research studies. I use it quite a bit. But they looked at millennials, because this is from 2016, aged 20 to 34 years at the time, and what they measured was hand grip strength and then something called a lateral pinch test, which I actually had to look up because I didn't know what a lateral pinch test looked like. I think I kind of had a clue, but so anyway, this hand grip strength is something that you'll see commonly used in research studies as a quick and easy way to measure strength, and it uses one of these, I don't know what they're called, these manometers of some kind. I remember using these as an undergraduate in one of the research departments where I worked, and it's just a grip strength device with a meter on it. Some are digital and some are analog, but they you know, measures grip strength. And grip strength is it's a popular measurement for measuring strength because it's easy to reproduce, it's cheap, it only requires a small, very inexpensive piece of equipment. And there are good studies showing that grip strength does correlate with strength in other lifts. It does, even like your strength of your legs and shoulders and back and, you know, things like that. So it's a quick and easy way to measure strength. Grip strength, by the way, is also related to longevity. So the better your grip strength is, obviously the stronger you are, and of course the stronger you are, the longer you're going to live. That's like one of the key topics on this channel that we're going to keep driving home, is you got to get strong if you want to live long. Okay, and then this up here, I'm going to show this on the screen here, another picture here of like what a lateral pinch test was. It just uses a similar device, and you're pinching with your fingers instead of gripping with your hand. So anyway, they're both measures of strength. And just to cut to the chase, what they saw here was that this little group of millennials they were statistically significantly weaker than men who had been tested on similar devices 30 years prior. So like their fathers, basically. And so there had been about a 26-pound loss in grip strength in these groups. And, you know, I mean, how good was this study, and how good was the quality control, and, you know, were the groups really the same? You know, who knows? I don't want to get too far into that. This is one study. It's not a big study. It really is not enough to kind of to derive any sort of definitive conclusion and answer the question, are men getting weaker over time? I suspect that they are. And I say that based on personal experience, what I see in the emergency room and at the hospital, and anecdotally what I see at the gym, none of which are scientific. But I'd be curious to see what you guys think. Do you think that men are getting weaker? Because the argument, there's a counter argument to that, and that one of those arguments is that, well, if you look at like elite athletes, especially we can use the Olympics for example, in the 100-meter dash or any of the sprints, probably any of the events actually. World records are continue to be set. And so, at least at the elite level, you could argue that, humans are getting stronger and they're getting faster. And so, people might say, oh, well, that's, we have performance enhancing drugs. But, if you look back at like the 1970s, before we had really good doping controls, I mean, everybody was juicing back then. Now, I've heard people argue that everybody's juicing now on the Olympics, and that's probably true. They're just smart about it. They use drugs that can't be detected with the current generation of tests. But certainly back in the 70s, I mean, you could get away, maybe in the 60s at least, with grossly abusing Dianabol and some of these other anabolic steroids. Those records set in those days have now been completely crushed. If you look at NFL athletes, I mean, they are clearly bigger, faster, and stronger than they were 30 years ago. So that's the counter argument, is like maybe men are not actually getting weaker. So I don't know the answer to this. I have a feeling among the general population that men are. That there's been a decline, and I don't think you can necessarily attribute it all to just the decline in testosterone. I mean, obviously there's going to be other factors, but I'd be curious to see what you guys think. If you can leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Are guys getting weaker? Are they getting stronger? Are they staying the same? I don't know. Be curious to see what you guys think. All right, I'll catch you next time. Medicine video and audio has been created and shared online for informational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute the practice of medicine or professional healthcare services of any kind, including the giving of medical advice. I am not your doctor. No doctor-patient relationship has been established. This content is not meant to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied upon solely for that purpose either. The only purpose of this content is to present peer-reviewed, research-backed health information for your consideration. As always, rely on the advice and guidance of your personal physician before undertaking any activity presented here, and if in doubt or not comfortable with said activity, practice discretion. Your health is your responsibility and not ours. Finally, I take conflicts of interest seriously. I accept no compensation whatsoever from any private corporations, including pharmaceutical or supplement companies. You can trust that if I recommend a medication, product, or service, it's because I genuinely believe in it and not because I'm being paid to endorse it.